Okay. Um, you know, as a target individual, you're surrounded by people who are just like them. You see, their job is to get you to accept reality. They are the most miserable human beings, but they don't even know. The excitement, the benefits they get, the incentives they get, have them made them having to dump themselves to a level that there's no return. Now you're gonna hear this testimonials from women, men, and understanding that this entity is contracting this life are filled with pedophiles. But for me, they want to block that out. They're like, you are a pedophile. Now I remember going on a trip, going somewhere else in different states, and they were stimulating me on nothing, like everything they wanted me. Like you see that, do you see that person? Her shoulder. They start giving me stimulation. Mind you, this person is minuscule, skinny, look, bony, like nothing sexy. Sorry, let me say that better. Nothing womanly about her. For me, now I don't want to body shame anybody, but there will be no ways that this person can make me feel stimulation, especially based on the shoulder. They literally made me feel sexual stimulation toward this shoulder. This is why I took a picture. Like, I can't believe that. Oh, I'm definitely gonna make a video about this. And they did so much stimulations, and they have the ability to force you to get perceptions and reactions that are falsified. That's like, there's no way. In my life, I've never looked at a shoulder and felt sex stimulations like that. That's why I took a picture of that on that date. I had to look in my pictures of all the things they do to me. Looked at July 21st, and this is what they did to me. They made me react to this person's shoulder in this way. I was like, I know this is Jesus. It means something. Like, if they force me, if they get me to get false stimulations, is usually because this person looks differently from. When they force me stimulation, usually I imagine that these people are like childlike individuals. If they start falsified, if a shoulder can make me react this way, I was like, oh my gosh, well, let me see what this person looks like. He's probably like a childlike looking person. And next to her, there was another one where they're like, she turned around and looked at my neighbor, the person sitting next to me, while I was listening to like testimonials. And she didn't even try to look at me. And her eyes, they were trying to stimulate me toward her eyes. Like, oh my gosh, Jesus, it's so falsified. I looked at her multiple times, like, oh my gosh, they like keep, like my perception of this person changed. And I was like, watch this person. She might look completely different. She might be like a little tiny little person, like minuscule little person. And then she stands up and it's like, okay, she's not that bad looking, but it's still falsified. She's not like a tiny little kid looking person. She looked like maybe like in a 22-year-old, something like that, 23, but still falsified. They were trying to make me get a perception that's sexual. And I'm looking at her neighbors like, oh my gosh, the shoulder was just beyond. It was just like so sad. And they're like, you see, it was not that bad. It's like, no, when you force me to have such a false stimulations, if I can get if they force you to get stimulations, like toward like a shoulder, like this is what I took a picture at the time. This is why I took a picture of that. It's because I knew that they were making me having stimulation toward like the shoulder. This is not natural. Like I never looked at a shoulder and felt anything. And look at her. She's like a tiny no, let me just say not tiny, but she's barely womanly. And it's not that I'm trying to judge her physique or the way she looks. I'm not here to judge her physical appearance. But I will say that what I'm trying to say is the way she appears would not naturally give me any kind of stimulations. But they forced me to get stimulation to her shoulder. So at that point, it's like, wow. I was like, let me see what this person looks like. So the other person sitting next to her, she turns around, not trying to look at me, she knows better. She was trying to look at the person sitting next to me because I'm listening to all this testimony. And she was looking, like, turning around and, like, she's like, and they were forcing me stimulation based on her eye, like a big eye. It's not like she had, like, a piercing eyes or anything. It's just like, she's like, her eyes are wide open. I'm like, what the hell? It's like, oh, Jesus, let me see what she looks like. I'm sure she looks definitely like it must be like something else, because usually when they force me this kind of stimulation, it's very childlike looking. She said, I was like, actually, it's not that. She's not. as childlike she looks like. She looks like maybe like a young adult. She's not womanly, but she's not like childish. She's not, like, and I'm not targeting individual. I'm not trying to be such a judge of body shape. I'm not. Look, if you look at me, I'm not the most best shaped looking man, but I'm saying, like, I will not get these stimulations. You will not. These people will not get this reaction out of me. And I had a camera. I have this body camera, hoping that this can help me put things in perspective. And unfortunately, for some reason, this didn't work out. I don't know if they did something to it. I don't know if because I dropped it or something, but it's just not looking. It's not working for some reason. And I was like, these people, like, this is falsified. I could never be reacting this way. Now, this has been worse. They've done it to babies. So this person who they stimulate me toward her eye, and like it's like a big eye. It's just like looking at me. I was like, what the heck? I could never. Before that was the shoulder. I was like, no, never. But that would never make me feel anything. I would never look at this person and feel like, boom, like this fool over nothing. I know. Can you imagine that they try to convince you that, oh, it's still you, look at her. I took this in real time. I didn't just randomly took a picture of her shoulder. It's because I knew that this is impossible. Like, this would never make me feel anything sexual. I will never get stimulations. If they want me to be stimulated toward this person, she must be like a childlike individual. Usually that's the case. A shoulder will make me feel sexual stimulations? Do you delusional? You think I'm gonna let that happen? Like, I'm gonna let these people live that fantasy? No. So you can only imagine. It's like, why would they do this? Why would they force me to get stimulation toward somebody's shoulder? It must be a child or something. I look at them as like young adults. But her friend, it wasn't her shoulder. It was like the face, and like, oh my gosh, let me see what this person looks like. I'm like, I guarantee you, she's probably like a child, like looking. You look at her, it's like, she's not a child. She's like a 20-some-year-old. But still, this is falsified. It's not as bad as I thought. I thought it was gonna be like a little like 15-year-old kid. I was like, oh, okay, that's not that bad. It's like, you see, you thought it was like an actual. No, because when you force me to get stimulations to that level, is usually like really like a child, like individual. Even though it was still forced, at least it was not like a child. They've done that to babies. I'm like, oh my gosh. That's why I'm always like, when they give me this weird feeling and sexual stimulations, it usually means that it's like a child, like individual. I saw her, it's like, okay, she's probably like a young adult. At least she looked like a 20-some-year-old. I was like, okay. Even though it's forced, she looked more like 20-something. But the people next to me, these people were doing noise campaign. You see, I was like, listen. You see this picture? Why was it taken? It was taken because I was forced to get stimulation toward that. I had to look for the date, July 21st. Took this picture, or took a video of that. Because on that date, they were making me feel stimulation for that. What men, do you think that, I don't care how good looking you are as a woman. I don't care. Your shoulder will never make me feel stimulation like this. So you understand, I realized, okay, this is so falsified. Why? I was like, I need to record this. They will stimulate me toward shoulders, so you can only imagine. So to all my target individuals, do not subscribe to this. And you hear these neighbors, these neighbors trying to get you to accept it. I was like, thank God I didn't have to live life. They were throwing trash to make noise campaign for me to accept this nonsensicalness, because they were making me feel stimulation toward this person. Stay strong and understand, you are not what they want you to be. They are just trying to force you to accept a false reality.
I can be free from this torture. Every day has been a miracle of survival. In 2015, I began to experience what some call V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as destructive and violent.
Any part of the body. This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal, or it can sort of turn off the
What I say. Playing with my dog. So that attacks continue. I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use. A people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals. When I aggravated them, I usually called demeaning names, and one
to try to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia.
what I say. Playing with my dog. So that attacks continue. I don't let them get me. Today they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use. A people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.